Hey guys, it's Eric again with C8 Technologies. We're going to do a quick video for you today. There's been a lot of questions, people talking about the wheel bearing grease tool not working. Where does the grease go? How do you do it? How does it work? So we're going to answer most of those questions today. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is we took a brand new wheel bearing for your X3. We cut it apart so you could actually see the insides and see how it works. So one thing we're going to do today, we're going to take a tool that we've modified slightly to work with this demonstration. So we're going to take that tool, we're going to insert it, we're going to show how it works, and then we're going to take a brand new wheel bearing and we're going to grease it as well. So first thing, here is the bearing that we cut apart. Now these bearings are brand new, right out of the pack, no wear on them at all, and we took one and we just cut it apart. So when I fold it around, you can see the actual ball bearings, and this is how much grease is in an OEM bearing. So this is from the factory. So here's the actual ball itself, and here's the cage that they ride in. And we'll flip this around. I'll show you the other side as well. There's the other side. So you can tell how much grease is in the bearing. There's not a whole lot in there. And just to make sure that we're looking at both sides and make sure the grease didn't run to one side or anything crazy, we'll fold this side out as well. And there it is. So you can see the little grease right there. That's how much is in the OEM bearing. Now the next question we get all the time is, what is this tool going to do to the seals? When we pump grease in here, where's it going to go? How's it going to get there? And then what's going to happen to the seals? So if you look right here real close, this is the seal that is in your bearing, and this is how it's made. And you can see that I can actually mash with my finger. The seal just rests on the outside of the bearing here, which is the outer race. I can actually take my pick tool, and you can actually fold it out right here by hand. And then when you let it go, it just folds right back down into place when you tighten it down, and you can't even tell that there's anything done right there. So that's exactly what happens. So when the grease enters the middle cavity here, through the split in the inner race, so it fills the cavity, and whenever it's full, it'll just fold the seal out just slightly, just enough to release the grease. And as soon as you see that, that's whenever you stop. You stop, remove the tool, clean up the excess, and you're ready to reassemble. So there's that. The next thing I'll show you is a tool. So this is one of our grease tools. We have two here. We have this one, and we have a brand new one. We just took this off the shelf. So what we did with this tool to make it work with the demonstration piece is we took RTV and we blocked off two sides of it. If we hadn't done that, when the grease comes through the Zerk fitting down through the hole into the grease groove, it would have just kept going on around the groove, and it would have just pumped out in the open area here in the bearing. So we sealed it off there so that you can actually see how it's going to work. So what we'll do is we'll take this grease tool and we'll actually insert it into the bearing. When we insert it into the bearing, you can actually see right here that the grease groove lines up with the slot that's in the inner race in the bearing. You can see that right there. You can see it on this side just a little bit better. So it lines up right there with the split in the bearing, and that's exactly what happens. So as soon as you insert the tool and you grease the bearing, you see that gap right there. That's what happens. The grease enters that gap into the bearing cavity, goes past the ball bearings to get to the seal. So it has to go by the actual bearing itself to ever come out of the seals. So you know for sure you're getting everything greased. So anyway, so that's what we'll do. So we'll take this grease tool that, like I said, we've modified with the RTV just to block off the passage. We're going to take the grease groove hole, and we're going to put it on the bottom side, and we're going to insert it in the tool. So I can turn it. You can see there's the spot of RTV right there. And then here's the other spot of RTV right here. So we're just going to put those on both sides of the area that we've cut. We're going to grease this bearing. Now, everybody's grease gun differs a little bit. This is a name brand grease tool. This is a Lincoln, I believe it is, grease gun here. So, all right, so we've hooked up our grease gun. We have our tool in place. So we're just going to pump some grease in here, and we're going to see where it comes out and how it works. Okay, right there you can see the grease just barely starting to come out of the bearing area. And if you look at this side, down in here, I'll just reach down and grab a little bit. There's grease coming out of that side too. So that's what happens. The grease goes into the groove, it actually enters the bearing, it pressurizes the center cavity in the bearing here, and then once this is full of grease and it can't go anywhere, it actually forces the grease past the ball bearings and comes out the seals, because as you can see there, the grease is in the center cavity. So there's no way for grease to get to the seals except with passing by the ball bearings themselves. So there's that. I'll slide the tool out and you can see right here, this is what's happened. So there's your groove all the way around that is now full of grease. We can actually rotate this around a little bit and you can see where a little bit of the grease has actually started to get to the ball bearing already. So we'll slide that back down in there. We'll go ahead and look at the other side just to be doing it. So there it is right there. That's what happens. All of the grease is in the center cavity and it's starting to go actually past the ball bearing. So in a normal bearing that hasn't been cut away, where the grease is right here that we've not touched, the grease will go through this cavity over and then come out the seal. We'll just push that back down out of the way, and that's exactly what you have right there. We can wipe that excess out so you can see the grease groove again. So there's the grease groove. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a brand new wheel bearing. It's actually in the package, steel. That way you can see us cut it open and everything. And we're going to grease it as well. So we'll take our tool, and there's, you can see here, so this is all we did with the RTV. We just blocked off both sides of it. And there's the grease, and there's the other spot of RTV, and there's nothing here. Because if we hadn't, it would have just kept going around the grease groove, and it would have never went into the bearing, so it would have defeated the purpose. So here's our brand new, in the package wheel bearing. Okay, there it is. Now this is a different brand, but the bearing's the same. You'll notice the red or orange around the outside rather. That is a seal, but it's just different brands or different production times. Wipe up a little bit of this grease here so we don't make a mess. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, this is our brand new off-the-shelf unmodified tool. There it is right there for the X3. And so we're going to insert it into the wheel bearing and we're going to grease it. Actually turn it up so you guys can see a little better. Okay, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera or not, but you can actually hear the bearing make a little bit of a noise, and what that is, that's pushing the air that's inside of the bearing. It's pushing it out around the seal, and it's making way for the grease to come through. You can kind of hear it a little bit there. Alright, so there it is. So now what we've done is we've just greased the bearing, and you can see, I've still left the tool in, so I've not taken any of that out. You can see the grease coming around the seal right here around the outside, and it has done the same thing on the back side just a little bit. So that's what you want to watch out for. As soon as you see a little bit of grease coming out, just stop. Then the bearing is full. The only time that you want to continue to grease past this point is that if you have any kind of contaminants in your bearing at all, then you want to go ahead and push them out with the tool. But this is a brand new bearing, so we're not going to grease it anymore because we'll just be wasting our grease. But you can see that, and I'll take a little piece of blue towel and I'll actually take this Talon, wipe the excess off so you can see what we're looking at here. And there's the bearing. Okay, and we'll wipe it off the back side as well. So there it is. And then we'll just, like it would be in your vehicle, the bearing would be in this orientation. So we'll just remove the tool. There's your grease tool. The O-rings wiped out. Majority of you can see how much grease is on the tool right through there. And what happens is the O-ring actually wipes the grease off as you remove it, so no excess is left over. And this right here is what you see. and you're ready to go. So then you're ready to reassemble and on to the next one. Normally the job, after you get used to doing the first one, the job takes only about 15 minutes per wheel. Sometimes it takes a little bit more depending on if you have any issues along the way. But yeah, so there you have it. I think that should pretty much answer all the questions as to what happens, why it happens, and maybe put a little bit of the conspiracy theories to rest. Anyway, thank you for watching.